Do you ever feel like manifestation is just another thing on your to-do list that you don't have time for? Like your spiritual practice is something that you have to do? Honestly, you're not alone because I felt that way too. Something that's really changed my relationship with manifestation is blending it into my lifestyle so that no matter what I'm doing, I'm also manifesting. I call this manifestation as a lifestyle, and it's single handedly made the entire manifestation journey more enjoyable for me. And I've seen my desires show up with a lot more ease. Manifesting as a lifestyle has made manifestation go from feeling like a task to something I just naturally do because it's who I am. If you'd like to learn more about this, I've created a step by step guide for you. I'll link it in my show notes so you can check it out. You're listening to the Affirmation Addict podcast with Pyle Corley. This podcast will teach you about the power of affirmations while making manifestation easy and accessible for you in order to enhance your spiritual consciousness. Thank you so much for being here, and now it's time to get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Affirmation Addict podcast. My name is Pyle, and today I have a little bit of a heart-to-heart for you if your current reality is so far from what you are expecting. I recently was kind of stuck in this cycle where my current reality was so evidently far from what I was actually desiring, and it was so overwhelming to try and get myself out of over fixating on my current reality. And I want to share with you just some perspectives and some reminders that help me stop fixating on my current reality, but also how I got out of the current reality that was actually really bothering me. So it's a little bit of a mind boggle once in a while because we're touching on some quantum physics concepts that to our logical mind make absolutely no sense. But when it comes to manifestation and understanding some of those spiritual laws, it makes perfect sense. So try not to use your logical mind fully with this to kind of make full sense of the concepts unless you really want to go on a deep dive into quantum physics. But more so, let yourself just listen to this with an open mind and see what resonates. So the first kind of reminder I want to share with you is that your current reality, so today, where you are right now, was created by a past version of you. So when you are over fixating on today, like this moment right now, the current reality that's around you, this was created by a past version of you. So maybe that past version of you wasn't saying her affirmations. Maybe the past version of you had no idea why she wanted what she wanted and wasn't super consistent with her spiritual practice. So maybe that's why your current reality is the way it is. And the work that you have been putting in maybe for the past few days hasn't actually caught up to your future reality. And so when you're focusing on your current reality, you're actually sitting in a endless loop, because when you are using your current reality as evidence as to how far you have come and how efficient your manifestation work is, and if your manifestations are here or not, you're actually staying in a cycle because your current reality and your future reality cannot exist at the same time. Because now I know I'm going a little deep. Time is an illusion, and actually it's a very man-made construct. So your current reality is a projection of a past version of you. And that means the version of you right now who knows that this reality is not what she wants is actually already creating a better reality for a future you. You just can't see it yet because by universal law, there needs to be a little bit of buffer time. Because imagine if every single thought we think, I don't even know if that's the right word. If every single thought that we have now I'm overthinking this. If any thought that we have ever come to think of comes into fruition right away, that would make our physical world so crowded and so chaotic that we would have no space in our physical reality. So that's why your thoughts don't immediately materialize, because there's not enough physical space for those thoughts. We have millions of thoughts a day, and that's just not actually possible for our physical universe to provide for us. It would be too crowded and too chaotic. So remembering that when you look at your physical reality and you're like, wow, this is absolute opposite of what I'm manifesting, realize and remember that maybe the past version of you who didn't really understand how this manifestation was going to come about actually accidentally manifested this reality. And the version of you who is more aware of what she actually wants, why she actually wants it, and has maybe even been doing some of that work, you haven't seen that reality yet. So that can give you a little bit of a reason to look forward rather than look directly in your peripherals. And I know it can be frustrating to say ignore your physical reality, or it can feel unrealistic, right? Especially when it comes to like money and debt. You're like, I literally don't have the dollar bills to pay my bank, which I need to pay tomorrow or even today, right? Those types of things can feel very unrealistic in the manifestation journey and can really kind of snatch our hope away. But I say this only from experience. In those situations where you literally have no evidence, you have no idea how it's actually going to happen, speaking from personal experience, I have chosen to remind myself that my current reality is not an accurate representation of the life that I have already manifested. And in some way, shape, or form, because I chose not to panic at my current reality, because I chose not to let my current reality put me in a state of stress and just hyperfixate on that state of stress. And I chose to manage my energy, calm my nervous system, and actually keep that faith that it can happen and be resourceful, right? Take action out of faith, not fear, two very different things, and get resourceful. Things have worked out even on those kind of very, very last minute brinks where it's like, wow, this might not happen. And I really need it to, especially things when it comes to like money and things like that. So I know it can feel really, really scary, and it is scary by nature. It is not what we're trained to do. It's not how we have been programmed to operate and think in this world. But when you can really wrap your mind around that your current reality is literally an accurate representation of who you were not today, who you were a few months ago, who you were a few weeks ago, maybe even a few years ago, maybe your inner child. You could be creating your current reality from the space of your inner child, depending on what area of life you're focusing on. Maybe you haven't done any work around money, or you haven't done any work around your relationships that have hit super deep into your childhood self. So your childhood self is still ruling that version in your current reality. And so when you get to step in and you start to recreate those stories and those beliefs and those patterns, your current reality will follow, but there is a buffer time. So in that buffer time, in the in-between of your current reality looking absolutely like no inspiration, no evidence, no hope, and that dream reality that you are creating, especially in a certain area of life, in between, what I recommend doing to help yourself get and not get so affected by your current reality, what really helps me is, and I know it's not the most glamorous thing, and I'm going to say this because it actually works, is focusing in on your spiritual practice, but not focusing on the manifestation itself, focusing on how you're feeling. Because when your current reality is not how you want it to, it brings up certain feelings, right? So for me, say my current reality, I'm trying to manifest a new home, and I'm clearly not in a newer home. I'm in a different home. When I see that home, I notice, and I know that it's not what I want. I ask myself, how am I actually feeling? What is the evidence and what is the current reality making me feel? And then I work on my spiritual practice with those feelings. Maybe it's making me feel like I am not safe. Maybe it's making me feel like I'm not successful enough. Maybe it's making me feel like I don't have enough money to buy a new home. Maybe it's making me feel like I don't have a successful business that can provide the resources for a new home. Whatever it is, kind of dig deep and be like, why is my current reality triggering me the way it is? And what are the stories that are coming up? Then work on your spiritual practice from that lens to kind of help yourself feel better, depending on the feelings that your current reality is triggering within you. So instead of just, oh, I want more money, my current reality is showing me no evidence of money, don't just say money affirmations, because that won't impact you as deeply. It won't really get to the root. It won't really uproot and take away the gunk that's kind of recreating these patterns. You need to find and ask yourself those questions of what's actually holding me back, what's actually bothering me, and what's actually being triggered within me. And then hone in on your spiritual practice with that awareness, because with awareness comes clarity. And with clarity, you can actually target your root cause. And once you target your root cause, your current reality is bound to change. It can't not change. That's law. I always get a ton of questions in my DMs from people asking how I can manifest X. The truth is, you can really manifest anything as long as it's for the greatest good. And if you're having trouble manifesting something right now, or you feel stuck on your journey, I have a really beautiful resource I've made for you. It's a free quiz. It's called the Manifestation Archetype Quiz. And it's something that I've created so you can find out your manifestation style to give you more clarity on your spiritual journey. After taking the quiz, you're going to receive the best resources for your specific archetype to help you attract your desires based on where you're at and what you want to create. So you can find a link to the quiz in the show notes, or just head to my website at www.affirmation-addict.com. So the next time you are on the manifestation journey and you just take a look at your current reality and you're like, this is so not what I'm manifesting, don't take it as seriously as you have in the past, because this is from a past version of yourself. There is buffer time, and now you actually know what to do. When you see your current reality and you're like, wow, this isn't what I want, you say, okay, I know what I can do. I can observe, look at my triggers, and recreate my spiritual practice with that awareness, because that's going to help you, give you an indication as to what patterns you are manifesting. And these manifestations might not be intentional. They might not be conscious. That doesn't mean that they're not real. And once you can stop taking it so personally, and once you can choose to let yourself kind of take yourself out of it, take your identity out of it, and say, you know what? I do have a desire to change my current reality, and I'm excited to change it because I know I can. And this is just an indicator of what I'm ready to change. You're able to start to move forward and actually foresee and step into that new reality that you have been trying to create. And if you feel like this is very contradicting from the whole get present, I want to remind you that when we say get present, we're not saying get present in your reality. We're not saying get present in the world around you, which I think is a huge misconception. And I can probably make an entire episode on this. But I think when I explain this, I can already hear some like feedback saying, well, don't I have to be present, and don't I have to be aware of my physical reality? Don't I have to know what my current reality is and not run away from it? I'm not asking you to run away from it. I'm asking you to be aware of it, and I'm asking you to know why it's triggering you. And truly, I'm rereading The Power of Now. It's been a book that's, I think everyone has heard about it. I'm rereading it. And one of my biggest takeaways this time is when we say get present, or not even when people say get present and focus on the now, I used to think it meant be so aware of my physical world. I used to think it meant get present with the world around me, get present with who I'm spending my time with, get present with the conversations I'm having. And yes, that is an aspect to it. But the way I've been reading it this time, it's been not get present in your outer world, it's get present in your inner world. Get present with the world that's within you, because the world that's within you is what's creating your outer world, which ties actually perfectly into this concept. Because for a while, I used to get so triggered because I was focusing on getting so present in the world around me and being so aware and so in the moment and so grateful for it. But I was like, I don't understand how I can be grateful for something that is not what I want it to be. But when you take away the outside world and put it inside of you, and you say, no, I'm getting present in here, in my eyes, in my eyes. I'm saying that because when I get present, I close my eyes and I like look behind my eyes. I don't know if that's just a me thing, but that's just where I look when I'm trying to get present. Like behind my eyes, behind my heart, like where am I behind the physical body and in the physical body? What is that like? Like who am I if with my eyes closed, right? Like our physical world is just one dimension of us, and we are multidimensional beings. And getting present has nothing to do with your outer world. It has everything to do with your inner world, and your inner world is the source of your outer world. So I feel like it actually makes perfect sense. Maybe just me. I really, really want to know if it makes sense for you too. But it's actually really helped me not get so caught up when my current reality gives me evidence of something I don't want. Because I'm like, oh, past version of me, no problem. Let me tune in. If I did get triggered, if I am frustrated, if it is evidence of something I have no desire, let me tune in and reconnect. and then move forward. And that's what I mean by coming back to your spiritual practice from that lens. It is such an effective way to navigate your day, but also navigate your whole manifestation journey. This is the type of stuff I do teach in the guide, in my step-by-step guide to manifesting as a lifestyle, because we can't just manifest from like this very disconnected place. Your manifestations are impacted by all layers of you. Like I said, you are multidimensional, and your manifestations are impacted by every layer of you, even if it's completely unrelated. The way you look at yourself in the mirror might have full impact on how much money you're making, even though they seem completely unrelated. Or the way you are thinking about your food might have full impact on how you get promoted at your work. Like we're interconnected in so many ways with ourselves, with elements of our lives, and with each other, that when you come back to yourself, you take your power back, you are able to reconnect to your inner world, which is a projection of the world around you. And when you can shift your inner world, you shift your outer world. And same thing is when you shift your inner current kind of thermostat, you shift your outer current reality. And it's that simple. Like energy moves fast. And we tend to hold on to time, right? We tend to hold on to these dates, and we're like, okay, in 6 months, I want this desire. And time is actually a very man-made thing. And when you put that pressure on your time and on when it has to come, you actually might be prolonging it when it's trying to come and can come way faster, but it doesn't make logical sense to us. Like I said in the beginning of this episode, please drop your logic. It doesn't make logical sense to us. So we have this kind of insecurity that if we don't put a time on it, it might just not show up. And one thing I've realized really recently is energy moves fast, if we fully allow it to. If you're trying to make it move fast in a manipulative way where you're like, okay, let me just say I don't care about it, I don't care about the time, but secretly hoping it comes really quick, the universe like can read past that, right? It's more so when you can really realize like energy is always in motion, and I'm okay if it comes today. I'm okay if it comes in a month from now. I'm okay whenever it comes. I just know it's meant for me. That's when the motion and the kind of restrictions around time completely dissolve, and that movement can come fast. That's why people say things can manifest overnight. Theoretically, 100% they can. I've had things manifest overnight. However, it's hard for our mental minds to get there. And that's where it takes a lot of work and really building up your spiritual practice resilience. That's why I keep harping on spiritual practice, because I promise you, I tried to find every loophole to skip my spiritual practice, to avoid the work. I tried outsmarting the system, and I will probably make an episode on this, but I really tried, I would say for at least 5 years, I tried just how can I just get around it? Can I just skip the work? And I couldn't. And I made it more efficient. I found ways to make the work more efficient, which is what I teach you in my guide. Like, we don't have to spend hours in meditation necessarily. If you're into that, beautiful. But like with the lifestyle I have, that's not always feasible. And it's not a personal desire of mine yet. Maybe it will be, but that is just not, that doesn't bring me joy like the way it brings some of my friends joy. Like, I don't get that yet. Who knows? Maybe I will. But allowing yourself to find ways to make your spiritual practice enticing and motivate yourself to say, you know what, this is actually going to help me. That is what I feel like I have found my specialty in, is helping you help yourself throughout all the different circumstances life gives you. And the reason this is so important is because I think the biggest thing that holds us back from actually getting what we want is when we see our current reality and we don't see exactly what we expect, we repeat our cycles and we repeat our patterns and we stay stuck in a loop. When in reality, it's just one little mindset shift that can get you from your current reality to your dream reality. And it is so quick. We just almost undermine it because it feels way too simple and it doesn't feel like the energy can actually move that quick. But I can promise you it does. You just have to try it a couple times with the most honest intentions. And that takes practice too. It takes practice to stop gaming the system and to stop trying finding the most efficient way. I think it's wired in us. It's a survival mechanism that we have. It might be cultural for you, wherever your kind of efficiency patterns are rooting from. don't try and apply that to manifestation. Just let your heart lead and let yourself be vulnerable and let yourself release some of that control, because your current reality literally can change so fast if you are okay with it. And one last thing I want to say is you don't have to accept your current reality. If you don't like it, you can just say, okay, thank you. I don't want this. I'm going to shift it. You don't have to fall in love with your current reality. You don't have, especially if it's not what you want, you can be grateful. You can be appreciative that I am alive and experiencing this, but you don't have to settle for it. I think people confuse acceptance with settling. And when I say accept your current reality, it's meaning that you are accepting that a past version of you created this, but you are also open to the idea that your current self can create an even better reality for you. And I think that's where the power lies, is where you're like, okay, I don't like this. I'm not going to let myself be completely triggered and in a loop for it. I'm not going to let myself just cry because everything feels like it's not going well. I'm going to say, you know what? I don't like this. What can I do about it now? And that's where your spiritual practice come in. That is the action you can start to take. The rest will follow. So I hope this episode gives you a little bit of inspiration when you're in that state where your current reality is just so far off. This really helped me the past couple of months, where I feel like I've just been battling little things and they're starting to fall into place, but it takes work. It takes a repetitive, conscious effort to shift out of that. And I really, really hope that this one helped you. So thank you for listening, and I will see you next week. Bye. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If this episode resonated with you, it would mean the world to me if you could rate and review the podcast and share it on your social media, so I know to keep creating episodes that are inspiring you to manifest. I'm so genuinely grateful for the time we shared today, and I'd love for you to join the community by following @AffirmationAddict on Instagram. To continue diving into spirituality and manifestation, head over to my website, affirmation-addict.com. Until next time, I'm sending you so much love and so much healing energy.